Willkommen zum Lukas Filmgespräch zu Before I Change My Mind. Wir haben dafür den Regisseur Trevor Anderson zu Gast. Ihr habt die Möglichkeit, den Film zu sehen bei der kommenden Ausgabe vom Lukas Filmfestival vom 5. bis zum 12. Oktober 2023 in Kinos in Frankfurt, Wiesbaden und Offenbach. Der Film ist Teil des Wettbewerb Teens. Ich habe heute Unterstützung an meiner Seite, Vincent und Ole. Die haben den Film bereits gesehen und haben sich tolle Fragen überlegt. Ich bin Simon vom Lukas-Team und ich würde sagen, wir legen direkt los. Now we have the director, Trevor Anderson, with us. Welcome to Lukas.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It's really great to have you. So now I would give the floor to Vincent and Ole for the questions.
Then I'll begin with the first question. How did you get the idea for the movie?
Okay, the idea for the movie, I started off writing a very semi-autobiographical coming-of-age tale. You know, I made a lot of short films and I never could quite get the idea for a full-length feature film. And then I thought, well, what's the most expected thing? What's the most common first film for people to make? And I thought, well, there's always the semi-autobiographical coming-of-age film, a good as place to start as any. And so it started off really quite autobiographical. And then as I worked with my writing partner, Fish Grokowski, it became more semi-autobiographical. And then parts of his life came into it. And then all of that kind of went away and it became fiction. But the emotions still feel autobiographical, if that makes any sense. The facts aren't autobiographical, but the emotions were true from our experience.
You like your school?
Hey, space case. It's fine. Do you even have any new friends yet?
No. Do you?
I will.
I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to be hurt by him. He's just a man. Or is he at all?
Oh, my arm!
Okay, so in the movie, I'd say the main characters as a group are Izzy, Carter, and Robin. And Ole here saw Robin as the main character when we were done with the movie.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised about his opinion when we saw the film first.
And we'd like to know your opinion, who you intended as the main character, or if it was just the group as main characters intended.
Well, I mean, I love to hear that there was a difference of opinion. That makes me happy because I suppose from a classical point of view, you know, a classical film structure, Robin would be considered the protagonist. But we made a concerted effort to make the other two, Carter and Izzy, each be as well-rounded as possible and give them inner lives and give them obstacles and arcs and all of the things you normally give to a protagonist. It was important to us that it not just be Robin coming up against simple characters, you know. We always said to ourselves, it almost feels like we're writing a pilot for a series in a way, because we can imagine really increasing the story for Carter and for Izzy. You know, we wanted to give a sense of their off-screen lives and that they've got a lot going on, that the movie touches on the parts of their life that bump up against Robin, but one could go off and have a whole movie about Carter or have a whole movie about Izzy, or, you know, if it were a series, an episode arc, or, you know, like a series arc for them. And we wanted to do the same thing even for the minor characters, you know, the B plot with the adult romance. We wanted to just give a sense there's a lot off screen that you can sense is there, but isn't necessarily in the movie on the screen. We wanted to give everybody a complexity. So I'm happy to hear that it read for you like an ensemble piece where there wasn't just one single protagonist. An argument could be made for either. So I hope you don't have money riding on the bet, because I'm not going to give you you're right and you're wrong kind of an answer.
In the beginning, you mentioned semi-autobiographic. Can you see yourself in any of the characters, or do you identify with any of them?
Started off with me being more like Robin. Like I was starting off as my memories of being a kid. And when I was a kid, I had a very androgynous gender presentation. And a lot of the time I would get asked, are you a boy or a girl? Which is sort of where the first spark of the movie came from. Like, what if we never answered that question? What would happen? You know, can you make a movie where you never answer that question, where you don't determine a gender for your protagonist? What would that movie be like? What are the challenges? Would an audience accept it? So it started off like that. But really, truly, once we got done writing it and making it, I identified more with Tony. I feel like I'm more of a Tony. And because Tony to me is like, in a way, I think of Tony as the heart of the film. You know, he's just always there, but he's kind of the barometer of the choices that are getting made. And in my own life, like I went from being terribly bullied when I was that age to later playing in rock and roll bands, you know, so I kind of had more of a Tony arc myself.
Staying with the three main characters, we noticed all three of them have, I'd say, an absence of at least one parental role, because Robin is missing a mother. Izzy has a mother, but no father, and her mother isn't really, I would say she's not really a good mother, because she's not really there caring for Izzy, but she's more of a like, do what you want, just don't get yourself killed or something.
Sure.
And then we have Carter, who's living with his big sister, which also isn't really a parental role, and she doesn't seem like she cares a whole lot about Carter. Does that mean the three main characters have to mature faster, which is why, even though they're, I'd say, a little younger than in most coming-of-age movies, they still seem the same maturity level?
I think that's a wonderful interpretation. I love that. Yeah, I didn't think about it consciously about them having to mature faster, but I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, we just instinctively wanted the kids to have, like, I mean, I had the standard two-parent family, and yet when we were kids in the 80s, there was this phrase called latchkey kids, which was like, you know, you've got a key to the house and you let yourself in after school and you're kind of on your own. And that felt like my experience of the 80s. I mean, I had good parents, I had a happy childhood, and yet I was also very like free from the world of adults. So, and it sort of raises the stakes. If there's no adults watching them too carefully, then really they're able to get into a world of trouble and nobody kind of notices. You've got Robin's dad, who's kind of trying his best, but is clearly not quite equipped. And then, as you say, Izzy's mom Izzy says a couple times, she doesn't care, you know?
Yeah.
And then you get the sense that Izzy's mom cares about appearances, but maybe not about what Izzy's doing moment to moment, day to day. And yeah, Carter can't even find anyone to sign the permission slip to go on the trip. So he's got it worst, I think. There's like nobody looking out for Carter. So once again, he gets the short end of the stick, and therefore, you know, little subtle ways to start explaining his acting out.
When filming, did you have any thoughts regarding to what happened to Robin in Washington and maybe to the history of Robin's mother?
My sense of what happened, I hesitate to say it though, because I don't want it to appear like some kind of right answer to a quiz. Like, I don't want viewers to think, oh, well, that's not what I saw, so I must be wrong. For me, it's just important that there's a sense of some bad stuff went down and they had to get away from it. Can you tell me, can I take this moment to turn it around on you? Like, watching it emotionally or intellectually or however you were watching it, what was your sense of those? Because I know the first time you watch it, it happens very quickly. So I don't give you a lot of time to figure out what's going on. So how did they play for you?
I also thought that maybe something bad could have happened. Maybe the mom is dead, for example, because of the scenes with the road, the memories with the road, maybe a car crash or something. Or I also had the idea that maybe there was a problem with alcohol because the dad didn't drink alcohol. And somehow I thought about the mom when I heard that the dad didn't drink alcohol, and that was my thoughts in the moment.
I love not saying the answer and asking you for yours, because I never consciously thought about a car crash, but it makes perfect sense, and it would work great for this story. So there's an interesting thing to me about like giving people just enough to make up their own version of a story, because often I had one person in one audience go, I felt like maybe Robin's dad killed mom and they had to go to a different country. And I was like, wow, okay, never planned that, but
That's interesting.
I don't mind that. Like, watch that movie. If that's an entertaining movie, go for it. So yeah, I'm always interested to hear how other people read those moments. I also feel like there was a problem with alcohol, because alcohol tracks all the way through the movie for Daniel and for Robin. I have a sense that Robin winds up with quite a drinking problem after this movie, and then maybe, hopefully, again, with the right help, can get out of it later in life. But at the end of the movie, you really see Robin turning to that bottle as a way to deal.
That at the end of the movie, Robin drank almost an entire bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Because
I know. I was that kid. So a lot of people watch that movie and go, that's how a kid couldn't do that. And I went, well, yes, I could. So, and fortunately, I say that from a sober perspective today.
As you said, the film is set in the 80s, and which you can see also, and in Canada. Did it remind you of your own childhood?
I grew up in Western Canada, in the province of Alberta, in a small town called Red Deer, which is, in my mind, where this is set, though we never actually say Red Deer in the movie, because it's not exactly Red Deer. We wound up shooting locations from other places in Alberta. So I didn't want Red Deer to watch this and go, that building's not in Red Deer. So we just let it be a nameless town in Red Deer. I mean, a nameless town in Alberta. But I grew up there, and in that time, like it was the 80s when I was about that age. So it's based a lot on my memories and feelings of having been there. And also feeling like an outsider. I didn't come from Spokane, Washington. I grew up there, but I still felt like I may as well have been the new kid. You know, I really felt like an outsider for a long time. So emotionally, it's autobiographical for me.
And for the movie, was there a certain message the movie should tell the viewers, or even the characters on their own? So, for example, Tony, Carter, or Izzy, certain messages they're supposed to deliver to the audience?
The only thing there is really that we sort of touched on it already, that idea of having to look into your heart and make sure your actions are in line with your values. You know, that idea of what are you? You know, like Robin has this moment of realizing there are consequences to the actions that Robin's been choosing. Robin's been bullying Tony to try to get a leg up on the social ladder, and then realizes, oh, I don't know that I like the consequences of that, you know. And there's been a lot of manipulation in that whole love triangle between Robin and Carter and Izzy. And then it all comes to a head in an ugly way. So I think it's just about examining our actions and making sure that we like what we're up to, and we can live with the consequences of our actions. That's all. I mean, any more than that, and it's going to feel like we call them ABC after school specials over here, because when I was your age on the network ABC, there were always these made for TV movies with like, don't shoplift was the point of the whole movie. So I didn't want it to be that. So really, it's really, for me, the only message is kind of about like, what kind of person are you, and are you okay with that? Beyond like simple ideas of gender or that sort of thing.
Thank you so much, Ole and Vincent, for the questions. So to switch it around, maybe you have another question for Ole and Vincent.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell me about what draws you to film? What is your interest in film? And do you have hopes to continue working in some way in the film industry?
I think what brings me to film or to movies is and since I've been a little kid, I've always really enjoyed going to the movies, to the cinema. And I think it's always been I think, special atmosphere in there where you're really in the fictional or maybe real world of the movie you watch, and you're just like not in reality for 2 or 3 hours maybe, and you get to enjoy that movie and feel with other characters similar to books. And I don't really have plans on what I'm gonna do with my future or after I've finished school, but I'll always stay interested in film, and I think I'd have a lot of fun in juries, but also maybe making films, which I haven't produced any films or anything. But I don't know, I'll stay connected with the topic, I think, and I'll see where it leads again.
I think what draws me to film is, on the one hand, this kind of special storytelling. So it's more than just like reading a book or hearing something. It's very much, so it's so many levels on that you can deliver a message or just tell a story. For example, as you said, with the drawings, the perspective of Robin, and all those little things that you can't see or can't notice if you, for example, read a book or on another medium. And I can imagine doing something with film or music. Yes, I can imagine doing myself this in future.
Cool. Excellent.
So to wrap up the talk, do you have a message for the Lucas audience?
Well, just thanks for watching movies in a cinema. I think it's so important, and thanks to the organizers and the jury for selecting our film and for bringing it to audiences in a cinema where we can watch movies, not just at home alone, but in community, in a cinema. I think it's really important. And thanks for doing the good work of making it happen.
Thank you so much for your time, Trevor, and good luck with your next projects.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you today.
All right, see you. Bye.
Bye.
Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Wir hoffen, ihr habt jetzt Lust bekommen, den Film bei Lukas zu sehen. Um auf dem neuesten Stand zu bleiben, klickt auf unsere Webseite lukas-filmfestival.de und besucht unsere Social-Media-Kanäle. Zuletzt noch der Dank an das Medienprojektzentrum Offener Kanal für die Bereitstellung des Studios. Natürlich der Dank auch an das Team hinter der Kamera und an Vincent und Ole für die tollen Fragen.
Gerne.
Wir sehen uns dann beim Festival. Bis dahin.